Hi, I'm Pooja Bhardwaj, editor for Digital Tech Media, and we have with us Gaurav Midha, CISO for NSE Indices and Data, and he's going to talk about the impact of data security on the BFSI industries. Gaurav, hi.
Hi, Pooja. Thanks for
Yeah. So tell us about how is data security? What is the data security landscape like within the BFSI sector? What are the current trends that you're witnessing?
Okay. So thanks for the question, Pooja. So when we talk about the data security in BFSI sector, if you see BFSI sector is heavily regulated and sensitive in nature, depending either it is banks or insurance companies or I am from the stock exchange. So they all are highly sensitive, and our landscape is main on data based on data. Now, data security is more prominent now from the last couple of years since this DPDP started and all those things, though it is still in the maturing stage. But that is something every organization is started working on those directions for the data security, because if you see, first we need to identify its first and key aspect which companies are facing as a challenge as well, to identify their PII data.
Absolutely.
In the companies. Like in my whole landscape, it is not easy for me to just to identify that these are the sources where do I have my PII data, because there are so many data sources which are sitting in the large enterprises, like either it is in one or other form. And there are very few organizations who exactly know that their PII data is sitting in what all sources are there. So identification is one. Then we need to protect that data. We need to ensure that our PII data is not going out in any way by any means. Either it is in the form of email or print or USB or XYZ or print screen or copy paste or even photograph. Like there's so many things. Even when we implement the tools like DLP in all possible ways, still there is a thing that somebody capturing the photograph of the system on the screen. That is also a way of data leakage.
Right.
That also has to be prevented. So there should not be any ways and means by which any kind of PI data can go out of this organization network. That is something BFSI companies has to ensure. So what before that there was a disclaimer. All are my personal views.
Right.
Nothing official about this, but this is based on my experience and my understanding about the data security. So what I can say for BFSI sector, first foremost important is the data identification. Their confidential, non-confidential PI data, identify that is the first foremost challenge. Then based on the nature of the organization, based on the size of the organization, they have to look for the tools and technologies which can, help them to ensure that their PI data is protected and not going out by any, though every company is using some other tool, but this is something, still there is a long way to achieve that. And considering this DPDP, like I tell you, currently we do data here and there, but now consent management and all that has also come into the picture, which is part of the DPDP, which will play a pivotal role to further towards the data security.
Right. You talked about the key challenges. You talked about the key components of data security. The one thing that I'd like to know is that, given the current tools and technology, security tools and technologies that we have in place,
Right.
How do you see them transforming your, BFSI sector going forward?
Yeah. So in BFSI sector, if you see any mature BFSI company currently, if you go, there are 2-3 basic elements. Your data should be in encrypted form in all possible ways of transmission. Your data at rest, data in motion, data in use. All these three things should be encrypted. And most of the cases you will find that data at rest, which is sitting in the database, that is encrypted. Data in motion is little less, but that is also encrypted. But data in use, hardly there are companies who are able to do encryption on that part. So purpose of that, by any chance or by any means, if my data, some hacker is, able to reach to my backend database, still he should not be able to get the actual data, and that should be in an encrypted form. So encryption is one key element for the data security, and we need to make sure that it is 100% encrypted across our ecosystem. Second, our DLP implementation is one thing, but DLP has to be fully effective to ensure and 100% blockage of the data by any means. As I said, like whatever source, email and all that is basic, but then there's multiple things, and there are many use cases. I tell you, I won't name the company, but when DLP is configured, there's no use cases. Now, say for example, PAN number. Now, PAN number is normally capital caps and alphanumeric. Now, use cases are by default defined to capture that string. But some smart person, like if he made it in a small case, same PAN number, DLP was not able to capture that. So DLP has to fine tune policies and keyword. Implementation is one part, and in most of the organization, based on my experience, DLP policies are not, periodic basis. They are not reviewed. Use cases and keywords. That is something very important. Just implementation is one part, but that has to be with the all consent of all stakeholders, because ultimately business has to define what is critical for them. For any organization, if there are 10 functions, so finance or HR or IT or business team or technology team, they all have their own set of sensitivity around their data. So all those keywords have to be identified. Time to time, it has to be reviewed, and accordingly, policies has to be drafted across the organization level. So if one department is saying that this is sensitive, so that is an add-on to the whole ecosystem, like that is sensitive for the whole company. So it has to be strengthened in that way. Like in most of the companies, what happens that DLP and all that are implemented, but they are not, reviewed on the periodic basis. So DLP encryption has to be reviewed, and other security controls as well for that matter, right?
I think right from implementation to ensuring that, end to end things are happening in
Correct.
the right manner.
As I said in my presentation also, and that is a fact, like cybersecurity tools in any company, normally large enterprises, they at least have 10, 20 kind of cybersecurity tools. Those who are more sensitive, probably they have more than 30, 40 plus. But that is one part. But many of the times, many of the tools are not fully utilized.
Right.
To their best possible extent. So whatever, as I given you a few examples, either DLP or encryption, so they are used maybe 30, 40%, but not to their full potential. So this is...
Which is another key aspect.
Optimum uses something is one area which need to be mature across the organization, closely looked at and periodically reviewed as well.
Right, Gaurav, you're at the Digital Tech Conclave events. Any feedback, suggestion, how are you liking the event, and some of your key takeaways from this event?
It has been a wonderful event. I keep attending many events, and Digital Tech, this event I have attended in the past as well. If I remember correctly, like first event I attended, and this is different from the other traditional events in many ways. Like there are so many things are planned out. I think team does put a lot of effort for so many months to keep the audience engaging. Like normally in other events, if you see the session is going on and people are not engaged, but here there are so many ways and this thing to keep people engaging and keep interactive, interesting for all the audience as well as for the speakers. So this is something unique I see, and overall my experience is superb for this event in all ways, all hospitality, and I congratulate Digital Tech Media and the whole team for successful execution of such a wonderful event. Thank you.
Much for speaking to us.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you.